Welcome back. This is Joel, and we'll be talking on firepower again, right? It will be a continuation of the previous session. In the previous one, we kind of started with the initial device configurations, right? Initial build-up, I would say. We got in our FTD branch up, we got the two FTDs of the campus up as well, and we connected on the FTD branch side, we are using FDM for managing it, whereas on the campus side, right, the yellow part is basically the campus side, and we are using the FMC to manage these two guys. Cool. So in this particular video, we'll do a little bit of device management, right, which is kind of very important and it's kind of like the next step, right? Once you bring up the devices, you need to configure them. You need to configure the interfaces, you need to do some platform settings, you need to do some FMC settings and so on. So that's what we'll be exploring in this particular video. Cool. So that being said, let's jump on to my, so just to give you a heads up, so I'm using my jump host here to connect to my all devices, right? So that's there. So that's my jump host, and this is where we left off in the previous video. So let's get to it. So let's start with the first device, right? So this is the first device which we have. Maybe we can click on this one. Right, so yeah, there it goes, right? So that's what we have. So what we'll do now is we'll have to configure the interfaces. So let's check quickly what is our outside interface and what is our inside interface. So for which one? Our FTD 1, right? So I believe it's not very easy to understand from here because the interfaces are very close, but just take my word for it. The 0/0 interface is basically the outside, right? The 0/1 is the DMZ. Then we've got 0/2, which is the which is our inside interface, and the last one is a server. So what I've done here is I've connected these interfaces to the switch, right? And on the switch I have created broadcast domains, right? Which means I've taken the outside interface, which is over here, which is Ethernet 2/0. Let me show you the configuration of the switch quickly, right? I've just created a bunch of VLANs to create broadcast domains, nothing fancy, right? So show VLAN brief, there you go, right? So VLAN 10 is outside, VLAN 20 is DMZ, this is our general, and this is our servers, right? So I've created and I've put in the corresponding interfaces in that. That's it. That being said, so let's jump on to it. So let's start with 0/0, which is the outside interface, right? So let's go here. There you go. That's the interface. Let's click on that pencil mark there, and here you can do some configurations, right? So let's start with the name. I think let's call this outside, and the mode, let's keep it none, I guess. Security zone, so that's something which we have to do. Right now there is no security zone, so let's go and create. We'll call this as zone_outside. Sweet. Zone_outside, that looks good. So okay, click OK there. So we are creating the zone, and once the zone gets created, we can select it. You have to click on the enabled check mark here, otherwise the interface won't get enabled. See, you have the STT stuff as well here, but for now let's pause it. We are not going to do STT, at least in this video. We'll see maybe in the later. IP address, so that's important. We'll go with 192.0.2.1/26, I believe. Let's check that out again. 192.0. Let's see, should it be, I think it should be 12.1, right? I'm not sure what I used here. Oh, it's 2.1, sorry. So it's 2.1. So actually this one has to be changed. Let me just quickly change that. So let's just fix that before, so there you go. It should be 2.0. So I'm going to save that and lock lab. I'll have to change that on this side as well. So let's quickly do that. Yes. Show IP interface brief. I think have we configured it? Probably not, right? I think we have not. Yeah, so let's do that. So Ethernet 1/1 is something which we have not configured. Okay, so that's good. So we can configure it. So on the router side, interface Ethernet 1/1, right? So give me 1 sec. All right, so let's go and put in the IP address, which is going to be 192.0.2.1 or sorry 2.2 on the routed side. And then we'll have to put in the mask, which is 255.255.255.192 because it is a /26, right? And we'll go with no shut, right? So that looks good. Let's save that up. Okay, let's go on to the FTD side, and it's 192.0.2.1/26. Looks good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's go and save that. And once we are done with that, let's see, this is other thing, right? You can go on saving your interfaces or whatever you do configurations, right? You can go on saving it then and there, or you can save it like one shot later as well. So but it's actually good to kind of save it regularly. So maybe after doing 2-3 configurations we can go and save it. All right, so we are done with 0/0. What is the next interface? The next one, probably let's do the inside interface maybe, right? So the inside interface, or let's go it this way, right? Let's do the DMZ, which is going to be 0/1, right? Gigabit, you see here it's gigabit 0/1. Yeah, so we are doing only the HA1 for now, right? So we'll do that. Okay, so 0/1, let's click on this. And what we are going to do is we're going to call this interface DMZ, and the mode, okay, let's keep it none, that's fine. So this is that thing, right? We talked about the none. You use none if you wanna do something like inline, right? If you wanna do passive or remote passive kind of a situation, then you can go for the other. Excuse me. Let's click on enabled security zone. Let's create a new one. Let's call this zone_DMZ, right? And click on OK here. And what else? So you can change the MTU as well. You can go up to all the jumbo frame kind of a situation, but let me just keep it this way for now. Let's go to IPv4. What will be our IPv4 here? So we will go with let's see, I think it's gonna be 192.168.10 if I'm not wrong for my DMZ. So it's 254/24, right? Let's just double check. So yeah, that is 192.0. Is it 0 again? Okay, let me just double check that. It's 168. Okay, that's a mistake as well, my bad. Let me just fix that quickly. I think some of my IP addresses are not right? So that's good. It's good I'm figuring out so that you guys can check that. So 192.168.10.0. okay, so that's good. So we can lock the lab again. All right, so my DMZ is going to be that 192.168.10.254, right? Let's go with that, and everything looks good, so I'm going to say okay. Let's go to the next guy, which is 0/2, right? Which is going to be the general interface, or we can say inside interface, right? This is basically inside, right? This general or whatever you see here, this section is my inside, right? So yeah, so let's do that. So let's go and put in the name, which is inside. And the security zone, we'll have to create a new one. Let's create zone_inside. I'm going to say okay over there, I guess. And what else? So we need an IP address here. So we will okay, we have to enable it. Don't forget to enable it. We'll go to the IP address and we'll go with 192.168.133, I believe, .62/26, I believe. Is that right? 192.168.133.0/26, correct. So that looks good. So let's go here. Let's save. Have I enabled it? Yes, I have, and everything looks good. Let's go save it. All right, so there you go. That's how you configure your interfaces, guys. Pretty simple, right? So FTD makes it very, very simple by giving you all these cool knobs to do it via the GUI. All right, so we have oh, there's one more interface actually. So let's go and do that guy as well. The servers, right? I forgot about him. So okay, did I click on that? Maybe not. Let's do it. So this guy is gonna be, we'll call him servers, right? And here the zone, okay, let's enable this guy and let's create a new one. I'll call this as the zone_servers. There can be more than one interface in a zone. All right, I'm just creating multiple zones here, but you can have more than interfaces. Obviously, that's the whole point of creating zones, right? To bundle the interfaces together into one specific zone. All right, so we'll create and the IP address is going to be 192.168, right, dot 20, I believe, and we will go with 254. Okay, did I put in wrong? Yeah, 254/24. Looks good. I think it does, and we are good. Okay, click OK over there. Let's see. So we've got taken care of all the interfaces, right, which is outside DMZ, the inside or the general, and the servers as well. Awesome. So I'm happy with that, and you can see all the stuff appearing here, which is good. So yeah, I think that looks good, right? So okay, so currently it's not deployed, right? So that's, and we have not even saved, so let's go and do that. That's a good habit to save it. So we have saved it now. Let's not deploy it yet because deploying takes a bit of time. So let's go ahead and do a bit of routing, right? I'm not going to do very fancy routing like OSPF or something because that's really not needed, at least because it's a kind of like a ISP, it's like a edge firewall, right? So I really don't have to do that. I don't have to really configure like a huge routing, right? I'm going to go with something very simple like a static route, right? So static route, let's click on static route here, and let's say add route, right? IPv4 is good. The interface, obviously I have to select, in our case, the outside interface. There you go. And I'm going to say any IPv4, right? That's how you add a static default route. So I'm saying for any subnet, where you have to go. Remember, we have created that object already, which is ISP something, right? Which is my router, right? So I don't know if that is there. Is there one already? The gateway. Remember, we created one for the gateway. That's interesting. I may not be able to find it. Interesting. So I want to figure that out. So let's do one thing. So let's quickly close this. This will be a good time to kind of show you how the objects are kind of stored as well, right? Because I remember creating this guy, the ISP router, and if I have created it before, then it should be listed down in this objects. So there you go. These are the objects. It's kind of listing. Interesting. Probably I did not. Okay, maybe it was probably from one of my lab or something. Fair enough. Okay, so it's not that. So let's create a new one. That's fine. So we'll again add route, and we'll say, okay, select the interface, and we will select any IPv4. The gateway is not there, so here we can create a new gateway, a new network object per se, and we'll call this as what? ISP router, right? ISP router, and what will be the host? It's going to be probably something like 192.0.2.2, right? That's the IP which I just now put here, if I'm not wrong. Let's quickly check that, which is, yeah, 192.0.2.2. Perfect. So that's good, and we'll save this guy. So that's a host which I created just now. That's like the gateway. And oh, all right, I just remember now. I think that object which I created it on the FDM, right, in the previous video, on when we were managing managing the FTD branch. Got it. So this is FMC, so we have to create it once again. Cool. So that's good. So we have created that, and it looks good. So that's it to it, guys. So we can just go and save that, or click on OK, then save it. So I've created a static route as well, right? And what we'll do now is, yeah, let's go and do that deploying part once, right? Just to show you guys. So we'll click on deploy here, and let's see what happens. Right, so it's asking where do you want to deploy, right? So in our case, obviously it's going to be for only FD1, because those are the only changes we have done. If you had done the changes on multiple devices, then they would be listed as well. So here you can go and you can say deploy. You have selected one device, that's good. I'm going to click on deploy again. and now the deployment has started, I think, right? It's in progress. You see here the percentage is also shown. That's pretty nice. It's showing 8% and so on. So let me pause the video here and come back once it is completely deployed, right? Else the video is going to be too long. All right, so there you go. That's how it looks when it is completed. So quick check. So we have done the interface configs, right? It will probably go to one of these endpoints. So I've added a couple of hosts here, right, on the DMZ side and also on the server. They are nothing but routers for now. Maybe if we need some Linux boxes in future, we can replace them. But for now, just for doing some ping test, right, we could use them. So which means what I'm going to go do is, let's go down to this DMZ host which I have here. So this is the DMZ host 1. And what should I be able to do? I should be able to ping the DMZ interface of my Firepower, right? What is the DMZ interface of the Firepower? Let's click on this guy. Right, so give it a second. Yeah, so there you go. So the DMZ interface is 192.168 10.254. So I should be able to ping that. Right, there you go. So the DMZ works. Similarly, I can even check the outside interface 192.0.2.2, I believe. 192.0.2.2. Okay, so the outside interface is not pinging yet. So let's probably check that out later. Let's see the other two interfaces, which is 192.168, which is the inside interface, right? The inside interface is 133.62, right? So let's check that. Oh, but we'll not be able to, sorry. So that's a mistake. I'm trying to ping from DMZ. That's why it won't work. For that, I'll have to go down to the router, right? Because, if I want to ping from along this interface, I should be on the router. So let's do this again. From the router, I should be able to ping 192.0.2.1, which is the F3. So let's try that. So ping 192.0. Am I typing it? My bad. Okay, let's try it again. 2.0.2.1. There you go, right? So we are able to ping the outside interface of Ftd as well, right? So similarly, we'll be able to ping even this one, right? Which is the inside interface, right? We should be able to do that. Let's check that maybe, because that is nothing but my jump host here. So if I go to this guy, if I do 192.168, what is that? 133.62. Let's see that, 133.62. Okay, so there you go. It's all pingable, which means whatever interface configuration we have done, it's been successfully deployed. All right. So next, what do we do next? So let's go down to the system. So let's check out some cool stuff there. Let's close this. Let's go to system. So whatever you do here on the system, excuse me, whatever you do it on the system, right, settings, is basically the settings which you do for the FMC itself, right? It's like, though it's kind of like a very funny thing. I mean, FMC is a management center of other FTDs, but someone has to manage the FMC, right? So this is literally the place where you do that. So all the configuration, all the settings, it's basically the FMC settings, right? This particular page. So here, I just wanted to show you, maybe let me show you one of the most important thing we got to do is the time synchronization, right? NTP stuff, right? Especially if you have some crypto stuff and all going on later, maybe you're creating VPNs and all of that, having the time synchronization is super important, right? So right now, if you see, I have when I brought up my FMC, I had configured this. So you can see here my NTP server, right? I've added an NTP server, and that's nothing but 192.168.111.254, right? That's nothing but my what is that? This is nothing but my router, right? This particular router. Where is that? Yeah, this particular router, I am using it as a NTP server as well, right? So that's one thing. But you can do a lot of other stuff as well, right? You want to configure SSH to this FMC box, you can do that here. I think you should find somewhere secure shell or something here, right? I'm probably not able to see it here. Maybe I think shell timeout or somewhere, right? So basically all the configurations, like you can set up your email SMTP server here, and you can do a DNS cache and a lot of fun stuff, but mainly this is obviously for managing your FMC itself. These are literally FMC settings, right? Cool. So what about FTD settings, right? So I mean at the end of the day, FTD is a firewall, and so there are going to be a lot of policies, right? So those policies basically will come under here, right? So under this particular section, under the policies tab, you will be doing mainly the access control policy, where you see there are so many types of policies: pre-filter, SSL, DNS, malware. These are like this is like the core part of your FTD part. But apart from this, since our FMC is managing our FTD, where do you do the management related settings, right? For that, you have to go back to your devices, right? So these are, I would say, literally these are the three important things in my Firepower, right? First is the settings, right? So that you can do the settings of your FMC. Second is your policies. These are the policies which are traffic related policies, right? These policies define how your FTD is going to handle the traffic, and all those policies you can find it under this particular tab, under the policies tab. And the third one is how do you manage your FTDs, right? So for that, you have to go to your devices and you can go to the platform settings over here, right? And here you'll get two options. One is the Firepower policy and other one is for threat defense, right? So if you're running this unified image, obviously it's going to be the threat defense. But if you're running that Firepower modules and stuff, then you would basically go for, especially for what is that, for the classic devices, right? 7000, 8000, or if you're running Firepower on ASA and stuff, then you go for this, right? So this is for the FTD devices. So this is where you create your policies. Let's go and create a simple policy. We'll say FTD platform policy probably, right? And let's select one of the device. We are not doing anything on HA2 for now. Let's just select this guy. Let's say save, and it should appear here anytime now. There you go, it's appeared. Now here, you can put a banner if you want, right? We could put a banner saying, I don't know, maybe hello from bits please, right? So something like that, right? You can put a banner very similar to how your CLI banners work, right? As simple as that. What else? So the next is probably we can also look at the time synchronization part, right? So we could keep this as is, or we could, if you want, we can change the NTP as well. Like for example, I can change it here to reflect what is there in my FMC. I can keep the first option as well, in which case all my FTDs will sync up with my FMC, right? Or I can, like what I'm doing here, I can do this 192.168.111.254. I can explicitly configure this as a policy as well, because this policy later I'll be deploying it on the devices, right? So that way, all the devices are in sync with the NTP server, right? So that I can do this. So that is there. And what else? So we can do some stuff with Syslog as well, right? So with Syslog, Syslog is one important thing which people do, right? People configure. So you will have to obviously first enable logging here if you want to configure Syslog, right? And what else? So you will have to probably so yeah, that's mainly it. And then you go to the logging destinations. You can add a logging destination. So here there are internal buffers, right? The logging destination, either you can store it internally or you can send it to a remote Syslog server. So first is, let's say, internal buffer, and you can select the severity as well, right? You can see, if you select debugging, right, how Syslogs work, like whichever whichever severity you select, right, that particular severity and everything lower than that would get logged, right? So in our case, if I select now debugging, right, basically literally all the Syslogs will get logged, right? So that's how you generally do it, right? So let's say, I know, maybe let's add it. Okay, this one, probably you could add one more if you want as well. Maybe something like Syslog servers, right? If you want to send it to remote Syslog servers, right, that's how you can do it. And here you can select what you want, right? In our case, probably, let's say we are going to go with informational, right, for Syslog servers. So that's how you do it. What else? The other one probably is you will have to provide the, if you're probably using the Syslog servers, that's sending the Syslog or remote servers, you'll have to provide that information where it is, right? So this is where you do it. In my case, I don't know if I have a Syslog server. Maybe I can use this Kiwi server here. If I'm having, yeah, there's one Kiwi server here. So in which case, let me send the Syslogs to my jump host itself, right? So basically I would basically hit a add here in that case, right? And what will be this thing? So let me see, do I have to select an interface? That's yeah, I think I can still do it. Okay, so we can do this. So we'll do 192.168. okay, let me create a network object to be simpler, right? Let's create a network object. We'll call this as jump, right? And the IP address is, I kind of forgot, so I think it is 192.168.133.30, right? So that's my jump host if I'm not wrong. Let's just double confirm. Let's do ifconfig here, sorry, ipconfig, right? It is it's 133.30, correct? So that's that. So let's save that, and let's select the jump host, right? So that looks good. And so we'll have to provide, so you can obviously have the Syslog server on any of your interfaces. You can, if you want, you can also have, you know, the same server on your DMZ as well. That being said, what else do we want here apart from that? I think this should be fine. We can send it over UDP if you want, and maybe we'll have to select the interface. In our case, it is going to be zone inside, right? So let's go and select that. This is why I was saying, right, you can send it on, you can also send it on device, the management interface as well, right? Actually, let's do that. So in which case, you know, device management interface, in which case we'll probably have to change this guy. Let's just let's create one more. So I'm gonna say the same jump host. I wasn't sure that we could send it on management, but I think after 6.3.0 they have enabled that. So in that case, I can now send it on management. So it is 192.168.111.5 if I'm not wrong, right? .5, yeah, that's my management IP of my jump host. So I can send it on that. Right, there you go. Let's go and save it. Let's select jump host management this time, and I'm sending it on the management interface here. The rest looks good, so I'm gonna say okay, right? So there you go. So all the stuff, right, all the Syslog stuff is done. When I was just showing this so that, you know, I could give you guys a glimpse of how to do the platform settings, but it's obviously not limited to this. You can do much more cool stuff here, right? Great. All right, so now let's go and quickly save it. Probably let's bring it to the right side. Let's save this guy. Probably deploy as well, maybe. Yeah, let's do the deployment as well. There's the deploy button over here. Let's deploy. Okay, so I'm gonna select that guy. I'm gonna click on deploy. Okay, so while that is deploying, let's check out one other stuff, which is the health check policies or health policies, right? So where do we do that? Okay, let this keep on happening. Maybe let's open a duplicate tab, which is so I really want to go here, right, under the system and policy. Let me try to open a new tab here. There you go. Right, so this is where you can define your health check policies, right? There is one policy which is already defined by default for you when you install, you know, when you obviously install the FMC. So when I'm going to do this, I'm just going to edit that policy itself, right? So then this default policy obviously will be tracking, monitoring a bunch of things, and that's why, you know, you see these errors showing up here. So yeah, meanwhile, I think our deployment, okay, it's still 25% done. That's okay. Cool. So coming here, this is the health check policy. It's kind of very useful in our production environment, right? Because you really want to keep a track of what's happening. Like for example, if you go to the CPU usage, right, Right now it is turned off, right? But probably I might want to turn it on, so I can just save it, right? Switch the knob here. So now I'll be monitoring the CPUs as well, CPUs of my FTDs, right? So that is important. And maybe one more we can check. Let's check the probably interface status, right? So monitors if the interfaces are receiving traffic. So that's exactly why, you see here I'm getting these errors. You see the interface status not receiving any packets, right? So I really don't want that in a production, in my lab environment, so I can probably turn it off, right? So I can do stuff like this. There are a lot of options, pre-built health check options given for you here. So, you can test that out, right? So once you change anything, you can just go and say save policy and exit, right? And so give it a second, I believe. I think it should exit. It has not exited yet. Meanwhile, let's check this. Okay, so this has completed, right? So that's good. And I think probably we might be why this is suppose. Okay, it's fine. Maybe I have to set up my Syslog server properly, but that's fine. I just wanted to show you guys anyway. Okay, so coming back here, you can see here once you save it, you don't forget to apply this, right? So you'll have to go to your green box here and you'll have to click on that, and that's going to apply the changes which you did just now. Right, there you go. So now it's asking me for on whichever nodes do you want to apply this health policy to, right? So we can select all the ones, in our case, all the 2 FTDs and FMCs, and apply, right? You don't have to literally deploy this, because like I've kept on saying, whatever you do inside system, right, you're basically doing it on your FMC itself. It is basically whatever policies, whatever configurations you do under this system, it is kind of applied on the FMC. But whatever you do under this policies, right, those will be, you will have to deploy them so that they get applied on the FTD. So yeah, that's a difference. Right, so this was a quick, I think, video on the device management, right? I just wanted to quickly take you through some of the options and show you some of the basic things. So what we did is, just to recap, I believe we brought up our devices, right? We brought up our right. So what we did was, just to recap, we brought up the interfaces, right? So let's quickly go to the device, right? So we in the previous video we had just added the devices to the FMC. This one we kind of brought up the interfaces, we configured the interfaces, we configured the zones, and then we also configured the routing part, right? We did the routing part. You see here now, because I have disabled that red the interface status, right? The red check mark is gone, right? You see it's green now. Let's see what are the errors do we have right now. Nothing very serious. So everything looks good, right? Interfaces are good, the routing is good. We configure a default route on the FTD HA1. Then we also looked into the system settings, how you can do the configuration for FMC itself, right? So whatever policies go under this system are basically FMC settings. And we also checked one of the main important thing we did there was the time synchronization NTP part, right? The last thing is we also checked that the platform settings, right, over here, which is basically configuring Syslog and basically managing your FTD devices, because these are all managed devices now. So under platform settings, you put in all policies needed for managing your FTDs, right? But under this policy tab is where you put the actual traffic impacting policies, which we have not seen yet, but we will probably see it in the future videos. Let's quickly check my Syslog server. Yeah, looks like it has started getting Syslogs. You can see here, these are all FTD based Syslogs, and this is the format it is getting, right? It is there are some errors which it is throwing. It is saying unable to locate some interface and a lot of cool stuff, right? So that's fine. I think this looks good. So yeah guys, so that's mainly what we wanted to check out in this video. Yeah, do tune in for more stuff in the coming days as well. Bye.